I have spent the last several hours mapping a sequence of events that every major outlet is treating as two separate stories. They are not two stories, they are one story, and the thread that connects them is the one nobody is pulling. Last night, at approximately 10 o'clock Washington time, shots were fired outside the Washington Hilton Ballroom. Cole Thomas Allen, 31 years old, from California, armed with a shotgun, a handgun, and multiple knives, breached a security checkpoint and opened fire. A Secret Service officer was struck. His vest absorbed the round. President Trump was evacuated from the stage, held a press conference in black tie within the hour, called the attacker a lone wolf, confirmed the shooter was in custody, said he was in great shape, and then said 4 words that I want you to hold. We have all the cards. Now hold that phrase. Because here is what happened earlier that same day, while Trump was still at the White House preparing for the correspondents' dinner. Hours before the ballroom, hours before the evacuation, Trump canceled Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner's scheduled trip to Pakistan. He said Iran's offer was not good enough. Within minutes of that cancellation, Iran sent a revised proposal through Pakistan's back channel, not through a press conference, not through state media, quietly through Pakistan. Trump disclosed it himself on Truth Social. He said Iran sent something much better. Iran said nothing publicly. It moved in silence, improved its position, and let America announce it. Oil is sitting at $116 a barrel. Abbas Araghchi is in Oman right now, meeting Sultan Haitham before continuing to Moscow. China has not issued a single public word about any of it. Not about the shooting, not about Iran's revised offer, not about the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran's own parliament has now declared permanently closed by order of the leadership. Not one word. Here is the question that every piece of analysis this morning is failing to ask. How does a country that has been bombed for 59 consecutive days, blockaded at its ports, with its supreme leader killed on the first day of the war, still control the diplomatic tempo of the negotiation? How does it still choose when to move and when to hold? How does it send a better offer through a back channel while America's president is getting ready for a gala? What is the structural foundation of that confidence? One word: China. Not China as a military ally, not China as a public partner, China as the economic architecture that keeps Iran's endurance calculation viable regardless of what happens on any single night. The dark fleet absorbing Iran's oil exports beyond the reach of the US blockade perimeter. The yuan payment infrastructure that routes Iranian transactions outside the dollar system. The strategic petroleum reserve purchases that give Iran a guaranteed buyer at a guaranteed floor. The 26 calls Wang Yi has made to Araghchi throughout this conflict. And the knowledge gap, the most consequential element that allows China to know Iran's private floor before America ever hears the revised offer arrive through Pakistan. That is the system. China built it. And Iran's ability to move quietly on a deal while publicly projecting an uncompromising posture is only possible because that system is running underneath everything that is visible. Now understand how Iran actually operates, because once you see the structure, you will never again read a single Iranian public statement as the complete picture of Iran's actual position. Iran runs two tempos simultaneously, the public tempo and the private tempo. They are not contradictory, they are both deliberate and both necessary. Iran's public tempo has been consistent since the first round of Islamabad talks collapsed. Iran says no direct meeting is planned. Iran's parliament declares the Strait of Hormuz permanently closed by order of the leadership. Lawmakers say we are not people of compromise or surrender. We are people of battle until final victory. Iran's military says it can carry out preemptive strikes when needed. These statements are real, they are official, and they serve a specific domestic function, giving the IRGC's hardline faction visible proof that the government is not capitulating to American terms. Iran's private tempo tells a different story. Within minutes of Trump canceling Witkoff's Pakistan trip, Iran sent a revised offer. Not through a press conference, through Pakistan's back channel. Iran did not announce it had sent a better proposal. Trump announced it. Iran maintained public silence while moving privately on the deal. The public tempo says battle until final victory. The private tempo says here is a better offer. Do not tell anyone we sent it. This is not inconsistency. This is precisely the dual-track diplomacy that every country under maximum pressure runs when it needs to maintain internal cohesion while preserving external flexibility. The IRGC hardline faction hears the public statements. The diplomatic channel is where Iran actually tests the space, and the two tracks are not in conflict. They are both required. Iran cannot tell its hardliners it is softening its position. Iran also cannot let America believe it is walking away from the negotiation entirely. The private offer sent through Pakistan while publicly declaring no meeting is planned is Iran threading exactly that needle. What changed between Islamabad round 1 and last night is the speed of the private channel. At Islamabad, Iran took days of shuttle diplomacy, 21 hours of direct talks, and 3 rounds of negotiation to get within inches of a deal. Last night, Iran responded to Trump's cancellation with a revised offer in minutes, not hours, minutes. That speed tells you Iran had the revised offer prepared before Trump canceled. Iran was waiting to see whether Trump would proceed or walk away. When Trump walked away, Iran sent the offer it had already built for exactly that scenario. The dual tempo was not improvised, it was designed in advance. Now look at the sequence from America's side, because the sequence is where the analytical picture becomes fully visible. Trump cancels the Pakistan trip. Iran sends a better offer within minutes. Trump tells the world Iran sent something much better. Trump does not send Witkoff. Trump attends the correspondence dinner. Trump is evacuated at gunpoint. Trump holds a press conference in black tie and says we have all the cards. Read that sequence again carefully. America canceled a meeting, received a better offer, did not respond to the better offer, attended a gala, survived an assassination attempt, and held a press conference claiming all the cards. All of that inside approximately 8 hours. The phrase "we have all the cards" is the most strategically significant thing Trump said last night. Not because it is true or false, but because of the precise moment he said it. Trump delivered that line standing in the White House briefing room after being evacuated from a hotel ballroom at gunpoint in a formal suit with the full weight of a third assassination attempt in 3 years behind him, while a war runs in the Persian Gulf and Iran's parliament has issued a permanent closure order on the world's most critical oil choke point. America's cards are real. 3 carrier strike groups in the Gulf, the most comprehensive naval blockade since the Cold War. A precision munitions campaign that degraded Iran's military infrastructure across 59 days. Economic pressure that has driven Iran's rial down 15% and costs Iran's economy an estimated $500 million per day. Those are real cards. But the card Iran played last night, quietly, through a back channel, hours before Trump was evacuated from a ballroom, was the card that changes the sequence. Iran sent a better offer after America walked away. That is not the move of a country with no cards. That is the move of a country that knows exactly what its cards are and chooses when to play them based on the other side's tempo. And Iran chose to play it in the afternoon, while Trump was preparing for a social event, when America's attention was divided between a diplomatic cancellation and a gala. The timing is either coincidence or it is Iran's precise reading that a quiet private move would land better than a public one at exactly that moment. I do not believe in coincidence at this level of statecraft. Now to China's silence, because I want to be precise about what a government's choice not to speak tells you in a situation like last night. Within hours of the assassination attempt, world leaders issued statements. Netanyahu expressed relief that Trump was safe. Mexico's president condemned political violence. Canada's prime minister said political violence has no place in any democracy. These are brief, formulaic, costless statements. Every major government issues them as a matter of diplomatic protocol when a head of state faces an attempt on their life. They carry no analytical content. They are a diplomatic reflex. China has not issued one. The absence of a Chinese statement is more specific than anything China could have said. It tells you China assessed that even a formulaic expression of concern about Trump's safety at this precise moment, while Araghchi is moving through Oman and toward Moscow, while Iran has issued a permanent Hormuz order from the leadership, while the revised offer is sitting in Pakistan's back channel, even that formulaic statement cost China more than saying nothing. China ran the calculation and concluded silence is cheaper than any version of a public response. What does silence protect? It protects China's ability to be the country that both sides still call. Wang Yi has called Araghchi 26 times during this conflict. Wang Yi has met with Rubio. China is positioned as the indispensable party, too consequential for America to confront directly, too economically necessary for Iran to alienate. Any statement China issues about Trump's safety, however brief, enters the political record. It becomes something Iran must respond to, something America must acknowledge, something that disrupts the precise ambiguity China has maintained since the first day of this war. China's silence is not indifference. It is the active, deliberate preservation of a diplomatic position that no statement could improve. Now address Iran's permanent Hormuz order directly, because the combination of that order and last night's revised offer is where the dual-tempo strategy becomes most precisely visible. Iran's deputy parliament speaker stated on Sunday, "We will not return the Strait of Hormuz to its previous state. This is an order from the leadership, not from Araghchi, not from President Pezeshkian, from the leadership." The successor supreme leader, who has made no public appearance since his father was killed on the first day of this war, whose health has been the subject of sustained speculation, whose authority is being exercised through the IRGC command structure that controls every significant decision Iran is making in this conflict. An order from the leadership is a categorically different statement from a negotiating position. A negotiating position can be modified. An order from the leadership requires a new order from the leadership to be superseded, and the leadership has not issued a new order. America's central demand is that Hormuz reopen on terms America defines as free navigation. Iran's deputy parliament speaker says Hormuz will not return to its previous state, and it is an order from the leadership. Those two positions are not a negotiating gap. They are a categorical contradiction. You cannot split the difference between a leadership order and America's minimum acceptable outcome on the central issue of the war. Here is what makes the permanent order analytically significant in the context of the dual tempo. Iran's public tempo issued the permanent order. Iran's private tempo sent a revised offer. Both things are true. Both things happened on the same day. The permanent order and the revised offer are both Iran's position simultaneously. That is not confusion. That is the dual tempo strategy operating at its most precise execution. Maintaining the public position the IRGC requires while preserving the private flexibility the diplomatic faction needs. The two tracks are not contradictory. They are the same operation running in parallel. China has said nothing about the permanent order. China's energy companies hold long-term LNG contracts in Qatar. A permanently closed Hormuz on Iran's terms affects the supply chains that feed those contracts directly. A country genuinely alarmed by a parliamentary declaration that Hormuz will never reopen on previous terms would say something. China said nothing. That silence is China calculating that the permanent order and the revised offer are the same dual tempo, and that the revised offer is the track that matters for China's strategic positioning going forward. Watch three things in the next 48 hours. First, watch whether Trump responds to Iran's revised offer through Pakistan rather than through a press conference. Iran moved through the back channel. America's response, if it exists, will also move through the back channel. Watch specifically for any statement from Pakistani Prime Minister Sharif expressing cautious optimism about continued engagement with both sides. That precise language, cautious optimism about continued active engagement, is the phrase Pakistani officials use when genuine movement is occurring in the private channel. Silence from Pakistan on the diplomatic track means America has not yet engaged the revised offer and the private channel is stalled. Second, watch the language of any readout from Araghchi's Moscow stop, specifically for any reference to uranium. Russia has a public offer on the table to take Iran's enriched uranium and reprocess it for nuclear power. Trump has reportedly rejected that arrangement because it gives Moscow custodianship of Iran's nuclear material without giving America the political outcome of receiving it directly. If the Moscow stop produces a joint Russia-Iran statement that specifically references enriched material management and frames it as a viable component of a broader settlement, Russia and Iran have publicly coordinated their position on the central unresolved technical issue before America's negotiators have responded to the revised offer. Generic language about regional stability means the uranium question was discussed but unresolved. Specific language about enriched material management means a coordinated position has been established. Third, watch whether China says anything at all about the assassination attempt. The window for a formulaic statement is closing. If China issues even a brief statement in the next 24 hours, it is China deciding that complete silence has become more conspicuous than a minimal diplomatic reflex. If China remains silent about the attempt on Trump's life while Aragchi is in Moscow coordinating with Russia, China has concluded that maintaining its strategic ambiguity about this war, including about the safety of the American president during it, serves China's positioning better than any statement would. That conclusion, if China reaches it, tells you exactly how China has assessed the arc of this negotiation and where it believes the outcome is heading. Here is where I land. Trump said we have all the cards standing in a hotel corridor after being evacuated from a ballroom at gunpoint, with a war running in the Gulf, and Iran having moved quietly on a deal hours earlier while simultaneously issuing a permanent closure order on the world's most critical maritime choke point. America has cards. The cards are real. The question is not whether America has cards. The question is whether America knows what cards Iran has already played, when Iran played them, and through which channel. Because the country that built the system that makes Iran's quiet moves possible already knows the answer to that question. And that country has not said a single word about any of it. Put your read on this in the comments. If you think the revised offer is genuine movement toward resolution, tell me what Iran gives up on Hormuz to get there. If you think the permanent order is the binding constraint and the revised offer is a pressure management tactic, tell me what the dual tempo looks like when it finally closes. I want the analytical disagreements, not the reactions. Subscribe and turn on notifications. Aragchi lands in Moscow within hours, and whatever comes out of that stop will tell us whether the private channel is moving or whether Iran has already decided that the cards it holds are worth more than the deal on the table.